Om Shanti, and a very good morning from Aberdeen.Hindu Temple in Stonywood. Today is Sunday the 30th of May, and what are we going to talk about today? What are we going to churn about today? To move something around. I have made previously, I've spoken about it, in that if you take milk and you move it about, which means you churn it, you actually create the batter. If you take water and you churn it, you will always just get water. So obviously one of the aspects of churning, of Gyan, but also the beautiful jewels of experience, of awareness, and also on the way of becoming, we have to use the batter churning. And the question is like, how do we churn? Well, there are times in the day that we might sit down and do that, but we don't always have that luxury. And whilst we might have that time to sit down, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, then how are we using that time? Because that again goes into account of waste or of success. How much do we use that time? So I have to have that inner discipline that I actually sit down and I actually have planned ahead what I'm going to be thinking about. And I'm going to look at it from different aspects. But that sometimes can just be an intellectual effort and an intellectual process. And all we do is actually just achieve more intellectual property and be able to remember points and to extract them. But actually, are these points useful? And I mean useful in my life. Am I actually using them in my day-to-day life? Have they actually become part of myself? The whole reason of churning something good like milk and to create the butter, which is even more precious, and to discard the rest, means that I want to use it for my own life. And the whole reason for meditating, the whole reason for actually going on is spiritual, valuable, a life that is a treasure, not just for myself, but also for others. I actually want to create a stage on which I think things will be easier for me also in the future. But I want to be happy to look back on my life and say, yes, it was a life well lived. And so a spiritual path also means that I make effort, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm sitting in a cave high in the mountain just by myself. I can also live in this life, even in a family home, and actually work on myself and create more and more of beautiful things and beautiful awarenesses that are going to bring benefit, not just to myself, but also to serve the world. And so churning is a way of becoming. If we eat food, that nourishment that is in our food eventually becomes blood, becomes the essence of how I am and who I am. It is not separated. It doesn't just go through my body and goes out and didn't have an effect. So what is the effect of my thoughts on myself, on my life, on the life of others? Am I being successful? Yes or no? Am I just wasting things? Like, for example, if I have a big treasure and I hide it under a tree for many, many years, I might have the security and the awareness that I have that treasure, and in a time of need, I can always go there and take some of the jewels out and use them. But if I don't use them, they have neither increased nor decreased, they've become the same. But by the very fact of not using them, their value is decreased. And so when we hoard things, when we keep things for ourselves, we know they are there. But if we don't use them, their value is decreased. And so it would be much more valuable if I were actually to share them with others. These items are used, and as they are used, their value increases and they become precious. Now, with my thoughts, if I have good thoughts, if I have valuable thoughts, if I have thoughts that will actually create a difference in this world, and are going to create happiness and well-being, then if I don't use them, their value is not very high, and they have not brought anything better. And so my thoughts, as I use them, they have to become about a story where they were preparing for a big program and they were kneading the bread. And the team of those who were kneading the bread, while they were kneading it, they were actually singing a song. After the bread had been made and had been served to the people who came to the program, they realized that the people who were eating the bread were humming this song. So what had happened is that the thoughts, the emotions, the feelings had gone into the food and actually had been transmitted via the food to those people who then actually got the message. And that is also one of the reasons why when we just cook, we don't just cook and eat, but cook and prepare the food in the awareness, in the remembrance of the Supreme. Offer it in full cleanliness to the Supreme, and then eat it in remembrance of the Supreme. And when I have that link, when I actually do things in that remembrance, with that power, it actually starts to become part of myself. That food is not just nourishing me, but it's actually transporting like molecules of that awareness, of that higher awareness that I had at the time of preparing the food. And so if I have thoughts, if I learn something, unless I actually use it, its value is decreased. It just becomes another item of knowledge that I might fall back in a time of need. But if, for example, I take a thought like, for example, not to hurt anyone, not to create sorrow. And this is an item that I will take as part of my spiritual practice. And whenever I take an action, I actually have that awareness and that intention of not creating any sorrow to anybody, not to hurt anybody. Then a moment when, without wanting, I would have hurted somebody, I become aware of it. Because this is who I am, this is what I want to give. And so I retreat, I become aware, and I don't take that step that I would have taken if I was not conscious of what I was doing. And so we all have treasures of understanding, treasures of living together, treasures of sharing with others, values, qualities, all these things. Unless we use them, they have no value. And so when do we churn? When do we think about these things? When do we take the time? Now, there might be during the day that I do things where I'm actually doing something, but I don't have to be fully concentrated. In these times, I can do both things. I can do the action, like walking or cleaning something, and yet in my mind be absorbed in the love of one, absorbed in an aim that I want to have a theme that I have during the day and that I will actually pay attention to. And so not only am I thinking it, but by moving about, for example, I'm cleaning. Yeah, I'm actually putting that intention all around myself. But not only that, I actually have a movement, and by having that movement and thinking, that awareness is absorbed. So my intention is colored by that intention. Myself, my thinking is colored by that intention. It's almost as if I have colored glass. You know, some people have vision glasses and they have a yellow tint or an orange tint. And so they see the world in that way. So if, for example, I take this aim of not hurting anybody as my first aim, that's my tinted glass on my glasses, then I will see everything in the world with that aim of not wanting to hurt anybody. But beside that, obviously, to be successful, we have to do this constantly, all the time. We can't just do it just before a confrontation, because we have to change and transform ourselves. And once we change and transform ourselves, then we can actually do it. But we also need the help of those around us. And so by actually churning, we create a field. You know, a field is plowed before. So the farmer goes into the depth of the field to actually give it air. So by churning, it's almost like we are plowing the field and we are preparing the field. And by preparing the field, the seeds that we plant will actually bear fruit. And so we need a field, and that field needs to be impregnated with love and cooperation. So we need the love and the cooperation of those around us to actually be able to create newness and well-being all around us at the same time. So for churning, we need to go into the depth of the self. So let us try to do that today. Take a nice deep breath and relax. Become peaceful inside, which means try not to move too much. Just move enough to go into the awareness of I, the soul, seated in the center of the forehead with third eye located just between my eyebrows at the root of the nose, the place of awareness and the place of consciousness. Detach yourself from your surroundings. Take nice deep breaths and become calm and peaceful inside. Your breaths are deep and long and peaceful. And as you take a breath in, and the filling of your lungs with air, which is necessary and life-giving. And as you release, you let go of any pressure, any tension. And the more you take deep breaths, the more you go into that stage of absolute stillness and quietness inside. You create a space of tranquility, a space of safety. You feel light. You become light in the center of your forehead. You connect with the divine, like with a little silver golden string connecting you from your soul to the Supreme Soul, who is in a place of golden red light, a place of absolute stillness, in a place beyond sound, beyond movement. And while you connect with that space, you're sitting here in the world of matter, in the world of action. And yet, you have filled yourself with that peace and love from the Supreme. Your thoughts slow down. Mind. What is your aim today? What good, powerful thought will you churn about? Will you think in your mind about? Think about a quality such as responsibility, flexibility, patience, sweetness, benevolence, contentedness, truthfulness, stability, purity, cooperation, whatever it is that you would like to put into practice today. Wise, humble, loving, cooperative. Now, in that space of absolute stillness and quietness, bring that value up and see how you can use it for yourself. For example, the value of cooperation. I can use it to cooperate with myself. So to look after my body, look after the things I have to do, cooperate with my aims and objectives, which means look after myself and benefit myself. But on the other hand, how can I cooperate with others? How can I extend my hand of support and cooperation? How can I provide cooperation in a spiritual way just by being there, by supporting whatever they do. How can I cooperate with nature? How can I cooperate with the world? And ultimately, how can I cooperate with the Supreme? What are the qualifications I have to do that? How can I benefit situations with cooperation, with love, with tranquility? When I have that value in my mind, whatever action I take, whoever I come in contact with, when I do so, how does it feel? I lend my hand of cooperation while being linked in love with the Supreme. And I share that beautiful energy of the Supreme with those around me, with myself. Cooperation becomes part of myself, of my aims and objectives, of my demeanor, of the awareness that I leave in others. And so I've transformed and changed an aspect of myself and made it part of myself. Now, whatever value you have chosen, if you use it in a consistent way, in the daily fashion, how will I cooperate? How will I express myself? For that, I need to go into the depths of my awareness. It is as if I am jumping into the ocean. I'm diving into the ocean. And just imagine that you can breathe in the water. You're like a fish. And the rays of sun are just shining through the water and creating beams of light that guide me as I go deeper and deeper. And I go past other fish and rocks and plants, maybe there's kelp. But as I go deeper and deeper, it doesn't become darker, but actually the light increases. In my exploring the depth of my understanding, my knowledge, that light increases. And far ahead, just on the sand, I can see a beautiful treasure store. I go there and can easily open up the top of it. And when I open it up, I can see beautiful jewels lying in there. And these jewels represent values. They are ruby, topaz, sapphire, diamonds. They may be gold and silver, smaragds, beautiful, precious stones. And these precious stones, they present a value. Now choose one of them. Feel it in your hands. Is it edgy, which means it's not quite there? Is it nice and round and feels good and molds well into your hand? Is it something for you becoming? And if it's so, how are you going to use it in your day-to-day life to create more of that and to experience that treasure, that value, that jewel in your life? And it is important that you don't just take it for a moment and then store it away for a rainy day, but use that treasure and start to mold it in yourself. The rhythm of your heart. Let it become the sparkle in your eyes. Let it become the words in your mouth. Let it be part of the molecules in your blood. Let it be in your spiritual good wishes and pure feelings. Let it be who you are. And now I'd like you to churn on it, on the jewel that you found at the bottom of the ocean and the value it represented. Churn with it for the rest of the week and see how you can apply it in your day-to-day activities. What are the other aspects of yourself that you need to add to them for them to be successful? It might be that my timekeeping has to be good, or that my intentions have to be clear, or that I have to tolerate or accommodate. There might be that I have to be righteous, honest, and clear. So allow yourself to go onto that journey of exploration with that jewel that you took in the bottom of the ocean of love, the ocean of happiness, the ocean of forgiveness, who has got all the treasures for you and who is ready to give to you without holding back even a little. So, Om Shanti. Use your treasure, use your value, and experience it so it becomes part of who you are. Om Shanti.